Hi, I'm Riley Schultz. Today I'm going to show you how to exploit CVE 1999-0958. So this exploit is a vulnerability in Sudo 1.5.0.1.2 and point 3, I believe. It allows users to execute commands that they are supposed to be excluded from executing simply by adding a dot dot or a dot slash in front of it. So the only evidence I could find for this existing is in this mailing list that links you to. These other links don't work, and I was actually not able to find any other evidence of anyone executing this CVE. So if you go to this link in the mailing list, it sends you to this, where basically this guy said he reported this bug to the Sudo bugs address that was given in the source code about a month back. He never heard back, so he just posted it on this big mailing list for bug tracking. So he shows you, he explains it here. He shows you how to do it. And then the list continues with a couple other people talking about it, talking about how it's not just dot slash, it's dot dot as well. And even the maintainer of Sudo, Todd, chimes in and talks about how when it was reported, he tried to reproduce it, but he actually couldn't. So the way I'm going to reproduce it today is I have a Docker file here, and I'm going to create a Docker container that runs from 1804, Ubuntu 1804, and I get the source code, the old source code of Sudo, from this Git repository. This is the official one, and it actually goes all the way back to Sudo 1.3.0. But we only need 1.5.1, which is still it's pretty old. It's from 1996, and basically I get this repo. I download all the tools that I'm going to need to build the code onto the Docker container. Then I copy over that repo into the Docker container. I run all the commands necessary to build it, going off of the build instructions in the Sudo. I did have to modify it a little bit, so I had to change some include statements. There were a couple function calls that were deprecated, and it wanted me to change those, so I ended up changing a couple things, but none of it was functionality changing. It was all just making it run basically on newer hardware. I also had to add like x86-64 to its list of accepted machines, a couple things like that, but nothing, no changes to the actual functionality. So once I get that all built in this line here, I then run this line, which will add a command alias for makedir into the sudoers file, and also it'll add our user and what they're allowed to do. Finally, I add a password for root, since you don't actually know what the default password for root is on this Docker container. Then I add a new user that you're supposed to start as, give them a password, and then I have you start as that user. So I'm actually already in this Docker container over here, and you can see I started as root, and I cut out the sudoers file so you can actually see what is in there right now. You can see I have makedir as the /bin/makedir, and I say that the CTF player can do everything, but he is not allowed to do makedir. So if we try to, you can see permission denied. If I try to sudo makedir, you can see that this is the output from sudo. It's telling me, sorry, user CTF player is not allowed to execute /bin/makedir as root. So what I can do is, I know that ./bin/makedir is where it's located. So I do that. It prompts for a password. It did not tell me that I'm not allowed to do it. If I type in my password, ls, you can see that I have now created this directory where I was not allowed to before. So that is how to execute CVE 1999-0958.